Laughter, fun time, energy.
You're not in the mood.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hi, everybody. We are recording this for real, in real time. Like, it is Tuesday, March, 14th? And this is coming out on Wednesday, March 15th, because we are back from vacation. The last few episodes have been, about our bands have been stuff we recorded before going on vacation to New Zealand. So, I'm back, Justin's back, and
Shanti's back.
Shanti's back, too. She's right over there on my bass amp.
Shanti also had a month-long vacation.
Vacation from this house, anyway.
Yeah.
She went to the cat mama, Melissa Ivy.
Melissa Ivy's. Yeah. And, so we're all back.
And jumping right into it. Oh my gosh. Yeah. It's busy. What does Shanti want there?
I don't know.
Pets. She wants pets or better food.
Or both. Jumping right back into it. I came back. We were in New Zealand, which we'll talk about a little bit, but I came back about 2 weeks before you did, and jumped right back into it with, doing some pre-production for a couple of EPs, and then we did, I did the drums for one EP, and I really was right back into it.
Yeah.
And you, of course, got back.
I got back, and then I've got 2 gigs where I'm playing bass coming up pretty quickly. I've got one with Cody Saturday.
Saturday
right?
at Buffalo Rose.
And then the next weekend I've got one with Pamela.
Right.
So new music in both of those, plus reviewing all the old stuff. Both of those are longer gigs, so I've had some review to do on bass.
Yeah.
But I thought since we just were in New Zealand, I thought maybe we should talk about our music life in New Zealand.
Yeah, music life in New Zealand. So number one, I guess it's worthwhile saying it's part of the equation that we rented a car and we're driving all over. So we were listening to a lot of stuff in the car. Let's see. What did we listen to?
I listened to War on Drugs and Phoenix on repeat.
Yeah.
War on Drugs, the last 3 albums, and Phoenix, mainly Alpha Zulu.
Right.
And that particular song, Alpha Zulu, over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Like for an hour. I just can't get over that song.
Yeah, it's always
the
interesting.
The production is so cool.
Yeah, the production. Yeah. We've talked about Phoenix. We've talked about War on Drugs. Their favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and Maggie Rogers.
Yeah, Maggie Rogers.
We
did listen to that. Yeah. Definitely recommend that.
Because we were not, we didn't have great cell coverage everywhere, so I downloaded a few things, but not a lot of things to my phone, so sometimes I didn't have a choice. I had to listen to whatever.
We had to listen to what we had downloaded. Yeah.
And we listened to the radio a little bit in New Zealand, and how would we put our observation? We didn't come across any indie channels, that's for sure. It seemed like most of what was being played that we came across by chance was 10-year-old, not super cool pop music.
Right. Or even 20, 30, 40-year-old, oddly enough, mainly American, some British acts.
A lot of Stevie Nicks, Tom Petty, and Fleetwood Mac.
That was
strangely enough
seemed to be everywhere.
The first song I heard upon arriving in Queenstown was, I texted you guys, I think it was American Girl.
Oh, right.
And then we had dinner at a nice place in Christchurch, and we heard both Dreams and Landslide.
Right.
One after the other.
Yeah.
I mean, it was everywhere.
It really was. It was a real shock. When I travel, I love to Shazam stuff. Shazam is an app you can get on your phone, and it will tell you what song is playing. So even like when we went to Atlanta, I every time we're in a store or a restaurant or anywhere there's music playing, I'm Shazamming like crazy. I'm thinking someday I might start putting together playlists of like, this is what we heard when we were in Atlanta. Yeah. I'm just really fascinated because music is different places, and different things are big different places, and that always fascinates me, and I love hearing new music. And every time I Shazammed anything in New Zealand, before Shazam came back with an answer, the vocal came in on the song, and I was just like, oh, this is just Avril Lavigne. I just forgot what the intro was or whatever.
Right.
You know, like it was, oh, this is some song from 20 years ago. I just forgot the intro.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, maybe this is a new song. And like, nope. Minute work.
Yeah.
Over and over again. It was really funny. Gosh.
So that was a little disappointing. And then we tried to find live music to go out and see, but I'm sure that it exists. But I also think that we timed our city days. They weren't on weekends, so we were in Wellington. Maybe I don't know, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
Right.
and all the life was happening Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and that happened to me repeatedly. Like I never seemed to be in a city on a weekend, so we didn't catch any live music except that I did see some live music in Queenstown and in Picton, which is where you catch the ferry to go back to the North Island. It's just a tiny little ferry town.
Yeah.
And in all three cases, it was a solo guy using either a looper or tracks or both, singing, the stuff you'd expect.
And when the 2 weeks I was there, the only thing I saw was two guys with acoustic guitars, two separate. Guy with an acoustic guitar playing in the corner of the bar or whatever restaurant.
Yeah.
Playing the exact same set list you would expect someone to play here. It was just like you might as well,
In certain ways, it didn't feel very far away. I mean, it's very culturally Western.
It is very culturally
Obviously,
Western. But it's very culturally different, too. One thing I will say, everything is just so nice there. The food is nice. The public spaces are nice.
The toilets are nice. The attitudes are nice. The roads are nice. Everything is just clean and well taken care of, and people treat each other well. And it didn't feel like there was such aggressive driving, and it just felt like you could get a great cappuccino at a gas station. Like, gas stations have espresso machines, and the people who work the cash registers are baristas.
Yeah.
And they make a great coffee.
And I'm not talking some gas stations, literally every gas station. That is the New Zealand standard for gas station coffee is a fancy espresso.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like stuff is just like, it's not like way fancy. It's just everything's nice.
Yeah.
And if you get a sandwich, it's like...
Oh, we had the best sandwiches.
It's unbelievable. Just kind of everything, I will say, I did have one issue, and I'm coming for you, New Zealand. The beer there...
Oh, yeah.
...is just, oh my gosh, unsalvageable garbage.
That's pretty strong.
I'm gonna be strong about it.
And we had a lot of beers.
The New Zealand beer industry. First off, I tried tons of them. Mm-hmm. Everything from their version of Budweiser, just the generic domestic, up to the fancy. They do have a lot of breweries there. They really a ton. It's just like America, where there's like tons of breweries and everything else. Their just taste is, well, let's say I didn't like it. Like, first off, everything tasted like it had an extra tablespoon of sugar dumped into it. It just tasted like, well, that's a beer with a tablespoon of sugar stirred into it. And I, of course, I love IPAs. Mm-hmm. I love the hoppy, bitter beer, and I tried 20, 30 maybe IPAs, counting a few sips of different things you got, and
they all struck out.
Not a single real IPA. Yeah, it was really disappointing. I was ragging them pretty hard. I was saying, what was I calling them? Oh, my first IPA. Like, if you're having trouble getting your kids into IPAs, because kids, they don't like bitter things. They like sweet things. This is my first IPA. Like, you start your kids in on this one. And
I had a couple of good ginger beers, but I will admit they were very sweet ginger beers. But ginger beer is going to be sweet anyway.
Yeah.
So
there was the Stratus Brewing Isthmus which is the first juicy IPA I've actually liked.
Oh,
which
yeah.
was not, like a real...
I actually like that one.
Yeah, I felt so bad. I literally almost said it out loud. I stopped myself, but I literally almost said... Somebody said something, in one of those breweries, and they were like, oh, yeah, well, this IPA is pretty, bitter or whatever. And I'm like, well, I'm from Colorado. And I stopped myself because I don't want to be that jerk. But it's like, it won't be a problem.
Yeah. Same with the spice levels.
Oh, my gosh,
I ordered a medium spice level at a Thai restaurant. And there was a barely discernible amount of spice, not even heat, but flavor. So I went hot from then on.
I know. Which was one thing that was cool and unexpected. We had no idea going there that the amount of ethnic food that they apparently eat. And a lot of stuff, because they're a Pacific Rim country. I mean, they're obviously very far from Vietnam, but they're on the same ocean. Mm-hmm. So there was so much Vietnamese, Malaysian, Indonesian,
Indian, Thai,
all those things. That was what most restaurants were. There were very few restaurants that were burger restaurants or whatever. I mean, they exist, but if you saw, if there was 8 restaurants on a couple city blocks, most of them were
at least where we were,
Asian food, cool, at least where we were. Yeah. But yeah, you have to order hot.
If you want some spice.
Oh man! Although we had the beef rendang at
the street food in Wellington.
Yeah, the street
during the
food.
market. It was like a farmer's market, and there were food trucks and
they just had a little truck, and it was a
so
Muslim
good.
family, or the women.
Yeah.
They were all clearly related, and they were just serving up this Indonesian food. Mind blowing.
Yep.
Yeah, it was so great. Right. So that's New Zealand.
Yeah, there's so much more to tell, but this is not
a
vacation podcast. This is our Music Life podcast.
Right.
Of course, our Music Life took a bit of a back seat. But while we were in New Zealand, Adrienne O got a little attention. I'm not going to give any specifics for just in case it doesn't come through, but it should. But we've gotten a little bit of buzz by being on the Colorado Playlist 2022 and the Colorado Playlist 2023 and the Colorado Women Playlist, all 3 of which are curated by Chris Kresge of 105.5 FM. And I'm thinking it's because of that another radio station may be featuring us sometime soon. So
leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that. We'll see if it happens. So we're pulling together a gig and trying to finish some new music.
Yeah.
And you have come up with a new way that we might try to write.
Okay.
Right? You emailed me in the middle of the night. Right?
Oh, well.
You had the thought in the middle of the night.
Yeah,
and, I was
right.
asleep.
Okay, now we're on the same page.
Yeah. Just basically so I have some different perspectives as I've turned 50 on this big vacation, which was the point of the vacation. It was a big birthday present to myself. I have been growing into some different perspectives just with the age that I am. Not that I'm crazy old, but I'm past the midpoint at this point.
Yeah.
And you've said the thing you've always missed in music for musicians who grow older is the perspective that changes when you get older. You're Mick Jagger's still writing about hooking up with young women. I want to hear what it's really like to be your age. And so I'm trying to write real words that aren't even in musical form or even in poetic form about the things I've noticed myself thinking about differently and feeling differently. And we might try to have you just take these raw words and literally write the song for me.
Yeah. Or
we'll
write 70% of it. Yeah.
Yeah, because I have a hard time. It's hard for me to write songs.
It's, well, you're a meticulous songwriter, so but it is something I've noticed with, with blues artists, they would often actually age and kind of address the fact that they were, older and stuff. And country artists, Johnny Cash, of course, did that run of 4 great records that Rick Rubin did for him. And did address those issues of, the fact that he was 80 years old and stuff, and how he was looking at life differently. And, and even if he was doing covers, they were related to, you know, where he really was and how he looked at his whole life. But especially in rock and pop, that has been something that just traditionally I was always missing. Like, why are you still doing the same material you were doing when you were 25? I mean, of course you would do some of your hits from back when you were 25, but why are you writing more songs like yours from the perspective of a 25-year-old when you're 65 or 45 or even 35? You know, it's just... I always wanted that. Even when I was in high school, I was like, man, why do the blues guys address it and the rock guys keep pretending like I'm not 50? Right. You know?
Yeah. And as you know, the stuff that we wrote, I guess about 10 years ago now, 8 to 10 years ago now, it feels so far away from me now.
Right.
I am a completely different person than I was 8 or 10 years ago when we were more in the heyday of
and we maybe talked about in that podcast, it probably should feel far away from you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, you should have grown.
Yeah. So there may be 5 to 8 songs from previous albums that we do at a show.
Right.
And the rest will be covers, probably not any of the same covers I've ever done because I'm not going to do wedding music. I'm not going to do Stevie Nicks. I'm going to pick songs that put into words the things that I am feeling or think, you know, I just connect with different music now. If it's music I'm going to sing.
Right. And that doesn't mean it needs to be heavy or it needs to be like all
not at all
lessony or preachy or
no.
dirgy.
In fact, my previous stuff was way more dirgy, lessony, and downbeat. Now I'm more like, fuck it. We're alive. Like,
let's have some fun.
I mean, the 2 songs that we just released, What, and You Don't Want My Love. I mean, those don't express like a changing perspective on age, but they do feel really just like what I feel about life now. Like, we are here, man.
Let it fly a little bit.
Yeah, let's just have some fun. And so I'm more interested in upbeat stuff and, you know, power and less sugarcoating and observations on time and looking forward and looking back, and I have a bigger picture of like where I fit in the course of human history. Not that I matter in the course of human history, but where we are today in the course of human. Anyway, we'll see what of this stuff comes out in lyrics. I'm gonna dump a text file on you, and you need to just pull out the important stuff.
And I think it was smart that we have just been waiting around for a reason.
Yeah. To
get re-inspired.
Yeah.
And you know, we've been putting out music. It's not like we haven't been doing anything on the original music front. You know, slowly we put out 2 tunes or whatever. But you know, this is like it's a spark, and we were just sort of waiting for a spark. And in that way, it feels more authentic to me than kind of forcing it. Like we don't really have an idea.
Yeah.
We did have a lot of fun. We were just in Wyoming with Petty Nicks at Gaslight Social. We've talked about that place on the podcast probably about a year ago. Wonderful people, treated us great show.
Great sound system.
Great sound
mix
system.
Engineer,
Yeah. Ben, the monitor guy, was killer. It was so great. You know, I was commenting another thing right when I got home. Like, we were maybe, what were there, 300 people there at the peak? 2, 3, something. Yeah. And the stage volume was just not overpowering. It was comfortable.
And yet it was really full, because those are the biggest monitors I've ever stood in front of. And apparently they are the same exact monitors that Fleetwood Mac used recently. Like Stevie Nicks has used those exact monitors.
Oh, really? Like they rented
those, like that set of gear.
Yeah, because Steve has a production company.
Yeah.
Wow. So there you go.
They were huge. They were bigger than most mains we play in front of.
Yeah, they were. But they weren't, you know, like I said, it was a really manageable stage volume, which just kind of helps you hear everything if everything isn't just like overloading you. But at the same time, my main point of bringing up Wyoming is all the fun we had in the car. You know, it's 4 hours away, so we were doing a lot of talking about the direction we're going to go and finding those. I guess here's a lesson thing or something to talk about. Like, very often it's really helpful to, you know, we've talked about probably in the elevator pitch thing where you talk about a this meets this.
Yeah.
You know, and the No Address was Tom Petty meets Nirvana, and that was like this watershed thing of us being able to put a finger on it, and we were talking about trying to track down. Very often when you're writing stuff or producing stuff or whatever, it can be helpful to kind of triangulate it's a this meets this, or it's in between those, you know, let's find it on a map of what we want to do, so that we're not just kind of like, you know, to follow the metaphor, just driving haphazardly off into nowhere. We've got a point where we're trying to be right between Chicago, Atlanta, and Dallas. What's the exact midpoint of those things? And it was just, I always love having those conversations.
I don't think we've come up with what that is.
No, we haven't. We haven't.
We need to figure that out.
Yeah. But it's fun to talk about, and it's something everybody, I think, should do. Is at least, you know, it's a good way to know what you're aiming at.
Yeah.
Maybe not every artist needs that. Some people just let it fly and it's cool, and maybe we'll let it fly and it's cool. Who knows? So anyway, aren't you glad you listened to me go on for that about? Anyway, gosh, we're going to do a short one.
Although I think we're
back into it.
Are we at 20 or 30 minutes?
We're at 20.
Oh, good. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't do much music the last month, so there's not a lot to talk about. I mean, you've always got ongoing work, but I'd say the big news is that Adrienne O, the band, is probably going to play a show sometime soon, and probably going to release some more music. Some of which I might, I think I'm going to dip down into some of the remixes. So I was looking at old songs that we did. Like Catch Me was a favorite of mine at the time. I do not like it now.
Really?
I don't like the production on it now.
Oh, yeah.
It's too slow. And so I listened, we had like 5 remixes done of that song. And I listened to one that's very much like The Midnight, that 80s-ish. It's a brand new band.
The producer in Brooklyn did.
Yeah, yeah. And I would love to play it that way.
Okay.
So I worked on that today a little bit.
I wish I remember his name. He's a great producer. We'll have to call him out again. But, yeah, I think that's great. I
just want to do whatever I want to do. And make a great show out of it.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, maybe that's another thing. That's with all the talk of triangulating and whatever, what it all comes down to is you really do have to, not have to, but it's a great idea to really just find that place where you're doing the thing you think is the most awesome. Like just the thing at the time you love and
rather
really
than
want
trying to predict
do.
what people want to hear or what's cool or what's going to...
That you can't do.
You can't aim at something that's someone else's preference. You got to just listen to your own heart.
Yeah.
When it comes to music.
Well, gosh, thank you guys. We are back. No real podcast business to cover.
Do we have a sponsor? My first IPA.
My first IPA. Are you having trouble getting your kids to drink IPAs? Try My First IPA from every New Zealand brewery.
And Performance High Voice and Music Studio.
All right, thank you guys.
See you guys next week.